This clip is such a microcosm of the WNBA. The relative unknowns who think they are huge stars. They are preparing themselves for the camera. They're smiling. Paige Beckers is fixing her hair. Angel Reese is getting ready for her patented me-bound pose. Kelsey the plumber, she's waving her plunger around to make sure she advertises her off-season services at Roto-Rooter. Meanwhile, the only star in the league, she is doing everything she can to get away from the camera. She's hiding her face, making sure that she is not on the front page of WNBA.com or LGBT.com. Honestly, and I'm being serious when I say this, for Caitlin Clark and the anonymous faces in the WNBA, it's got to get annoying to deal with the constant media-created drama. For starters, most WNBA players, they're not used to dealing with the media, period. Before Caitlin Clark came along, the only people taking pictures at WNBA games were the parents and the players' husbands who prefer she/her pronouns. Most players in the WNBA, they just want to play basketball. They're not interested in the drama. They don't want to be involved in the controversy. But the problem is, that is the only thing keeping the WNBA relevant and in the mainstream. Without the controversy, without the media-created war between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, which Angel Reese definitely played a major role in pouring fuel on that flaming ass fire, but without it, the WNBA dump struggles to maintain mainstream interest. And that is one of the league's biggest concerns while negotiating this collective bargaining agreement. When WNBA players were making minimum wage, no one cared. When the dump was losing $10 million a season, that's a nice tax write-off for the NBA. But once you start talking about unknown players making millions of dollars, once you start investing real money into this league, into the players who have demonstrated that they don't have the ability to generate a profitable return, once those $10 million losses could potentially become hundreds of millions of dollars in losses, sustainability becomes a very real concern. Earlier this morning, I was watching First Take on ESPN, and they were talking about Darren Peterson. At the high school level, Darren Peterson was so unbelievably talented that his flaws were overlooked. Throughout his freshman season this year at Kansas, with Darren Peterson taking himself out of games or missing games due to questionable injuries, he's so talented. He's so much better than everyone else, you're willing to tolerate his behavior. But from the perspective of NBA teams, when you're thinking about drafting this kid number 1 overall, when you're potentially investing tens of millions of dollars, when you're thinking about making Darren Peterson the face of your franchise and building the next 5 to 10 years around him, all of a sudden, everything matters. You're looking into his background, his medical history, his injury history. You're looking into his friends, his family. You're doing everything you can to make sure that building your franchise around Darren Peterson has long-term sustainability. It's similar to what's happening right now in the WNBA. Before committing millions and millions of dollars to players, the league has to question everything. In the past, when WNBA players were causing controversy by kneeling for the national anthem, the league had nothing to lose. It brought attention to a league that no one was watching. Players like Natasha Cloud trashing America or Bob Griner pretending to be offended by the national anthem. The controversy was good because it brought awareness to a league that most people forgot was in existence. But now, that kind of controversy could be damaging, and You also have to question whether the controversy with Caitlin Clark, the jealousy, the resentment of Caitlin Clark, you have to question whether or not that is sustainable long term. The problem is, without it, the WNBA has an extremely difficult time generating interest. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel is in the description below. Earlier today on the second channel, talked about someone else who's having a difficult time generating interest. Derek Carr is ready to make his immaculate return to the NFL. Unfortunately, though, for Donnie, there is not a single team in the league that's interested. I explain why there is zero interest. I explain why there is not a single team in the league that's willing to sign Derek Carr. So if you haven't already, click the link in the description below, subscribe to the second channel. Headline at ESPN. WNBA confirms progress as CBA negotiations continue. This is amazing! We're gonna have a pretend basketball season after all. Woohoo! Yes, yes, yes. According to the diva of dump divas, Kat Engelbert, if the collective bargaining agreement is not finalized by today, at minimum, the WNBA season is going to be delayed. Now, of course, Kat said the exact same thing last week when they failed to meet the original deadline, but the good news for WNBA fans, which according to my last count, there are now dozens of them, the good news for the lonely dozens, it appears that both sides are making progress and a deal could be finalized any day now. The main points of contention in getting a deal finalized are the same points of contention that they've been fighting about for the last 12, 15 months. Revenue sharing and housing. Well, Uncle KC, what do you mean housing? With WNBA players receiving significant increases in salary, they should have enough money to pay for their own housing. Yeah, for the last 30 years, the NBA has provided housing for WNBA players. The NBA doesn't provide housing for their own players, but housing was part of the subsidy they provided the WNBA. The league is trying to eliminate that subsidy. The league wants players to pay for their own housing for their wives who identify as their husbands. Now, obviously, the players are fighting against the elimination of this subsidy, which shouldn't be surprising because once you give an entitlement, it is incredibly difficult to take that entitlement back. The other point of contention is revenue sharing. Now, I don't understand why, because the WNBA has been firm in their stance on revenue sharing. Pretty simple to understand. They're not going to do it. For decades, the WNBA as a league, it has been this beacon of socialism. Now, to their credit, the league is trying to get away from socialism to implement more of a capitalist system. In socialist countries, the government conditions the population to expect certain entitlements. Basic income, healthcare, education, housing. I mean, sounds great, right? The problem is, it eliminates your desire to be great. Socialism is the enemy of creativity and production, which might explain why the WNBA has been a huge embarrassing failure for the last 30 years. When everything is handed to you without having to earn it, there's no incentive for you to reach your full potential. The system WNBA players are wanting or demanding, they want a percentage of gross revenue, which essentially means they are paid millions of dollars, and it doesn't matter how much money the WNBA makes. The WNBA could lose $50 million, but WNBA players, they would still be guaranteed their basic income. The system the league is suggesting is more of a capitalist-based system. After 2 years in the league, players would then be responsible for paying for their own housing. From my understanding, salaries would be determined based on how much profit the league is generating. Now, obviously, there would be minimums. If a player signs $1 million contract, they'll receive $1 million. But they have the potential to make significantly more. But in order to do that, WNBA players have to find a way to sustain ratings. They have to find a way to maintain and increase attendance. It's not like the league is offering them chump change. It's not like the league's offering Ethiopian breadcrumbs like they have in the past. They're offering players 70% of net revenue. The league and its investors, they keep 30%, players keep 70%. Now, most people would have accepted this deal last year, but WNBA players, they continue to fight. They continue to demand more. And look, I don't blame them for wanting gross revenue. Hell, who wouldn't want that? But you're not going to get it. Over the last few years, WNBA players have been given everything they have asked for. They wanted increased investment. They got it. They wanted more games on national television. They got it. They wanted increased marketing and promotion. They got it. They wanted mainstream attention. They got it. They wanted $1 million contracts, which is exactly what the WNBA is offering. And they still want more. At some point, WNBA players have to prove their financial worth. But KC, they've proven their worth. Ratings last season were great. Yeah, but if that was the case, the league wouldn't be so hesitant. If there were no questions about sustainability, this deal would have been done months ago. You take this CBA, you take the millions that the league is offering, then you prove you're worth more. That's how it works. You don't get paid what you think you deserve and say you'll prove it later. You prove it, then you get paid. Problem is, for some of these aging veteran players in the WNBA, by the time those potentially massive contracts are being offered, their careers will be over, which is probably the reason they are demanding to be paid right now. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.